Hi, welcome back. P and Bean, Rexcellent, part 5. Now, where we left our intrepid adventurers in the last episode, they had encountered, against all odds, a Tyrannosaurus Rex living on this island that wanted to play fetch till late into the night. And that's where we'll pick the story up. Bean rolled over and stretched and woke up. There was a strange noise. As he sat up in bed, he focused his attention outside on this weird noise. It was like a loud, hammering, thumping sound, and it was getting louder. P sat up too, and he said, "What's that? Is it an earthquake, Bean?" Bean rubbed his eyes and then suddenly laughed. "No, I know what it is." He unzipped the tent and looked out. There was Rex, wagging his tail. That's what was causing all the racket. "Morning, Rex," Bean called out. Rex got excited and his tail started wagging so hard, knocked a couple of trees down. "Settle down, Rexy, settle down. Come on, P, we better get up and play with Rex. He's restless." P jumped out of his sleeping bag, quite excited. He loved animals, and he'd never, ever played with a dinosaur before. So this was something special. He ran outside. "Morning, Rex!" And Rex roared, wagged his tail even harder. And then P picked up a stick and threw it as hard as he could. And Rex took off after it. And then the next stick P threw down towards the beach. He said, "Come on, let's go check out the surf." Bean followed up. When they got to the beach, Rex just ran ahead and jumped into the sea. P and Bean laughed. Obviously, Rex loved having a morning dip, so they ran and jumped in as well. Playing in the water, jumping around with Rex, splashing water at each other. And then Bean turned around because he could hear a wave breaking. And he was just in time to see a perfect set of waves coming around the point and breaking over the reef. He started jumping up and down excitedly. "B, look at this, look at this." B said, "I know, Bean. Why didn't you bring our surfboards?" He said, "Dude, how? We couldn't have fitted them in with us. We'll have to go and make some." B said, "Yeah, but how, Bean? How are you going to make a surfboard out here?" "The old noggin, P. I'll think of something. After breakfast, I'll go for a walk in the jungle and I'll see what we've got. I'll check out our resources and I'll formulate a plan." P laughed. "You're so scientific, Bean." Bean chuckled. "I just love inventing, P. I just love the challenge of making something." P laughed again. He said, "I've noticed." Then they had a water fight, and Rex joined in, splashing with his tail. He even let them climb up on his back and jump off, which was great fun. Then P tried something. He climbed out right onto the end, climbed right out onto the end of Rex's tail. And he yelled out, "Rexy! 3, 2, 1. And Rex flicked his tail. P sailed through the air, woo, did a somersault and splashed into the water. "Let me try," Bean said. And he climbed up and he got fired out over the water. So this was a great game that kept them occupied for a while until P said, Bean, I'm getting pretty hungry, dude. What are we going to eat for brekkie? And he said, well, Pete, the obvious thing is fruit. But then we should try and figure out how to catch some fish today so we can have fish for dinner. But if I go and take care of the surfboard, why don't you take care of fishing? P said, yeah, righto. I can do that. What do you think we could use for a fishing hook? By now they were sitting in the shallow water and Rex was frolicking around, splashing water everywhere, trying to get them to play. Bean said, well, I reckon I'd look for some fish bones. What do you reckon? You know, fish bones shaped like a hook. And then, well, for fishing line we could maybe use a bit of vine on a stick. He said, yeah, I'll see what I can come up with, Ben. Leave it to me. And then Bean jumped up and said, righto, well, if you're going to take care of the fishing, I've had enough of a swim. I think I'm going to dry off, grab some bananas for Rexy, and then I'm going off into the jungle. Why don't you and Rexy play here and see if you can figure out how to make some fishing gear? Sounds like a plan, Stan, said P. So they ran back up to the campsite. Bean opened his backpack because he picked a few bananas the day before and some mangoes. So they chomped down on some fresh, sweet, juicy fruit for breakfast. They had a couple of tea bags left, but they thought they'd keep them for maybe for dinner. Then Bean whacked his hat on, grabbed his little tool pouch and said, I'll see you later, P. Good luck fishing. He said, dude, no one has been fishing here. This place will be teeming with fish. All we got to do is catch them. Bean said, well, you're the expert, Pete. Good luck. And he headed off into the jungle, while P and Rex returned to the beach. Rex wanted to play, but P had to get serious for a little while. Come on, Rexy, let's look for some fish bones. And off they walked up the beach. Bean, meanwhile, whistling a happy tune, disappeared into the jungle. Once outside of the sun and under the shade of the canopy, the temperature dropped considerably. You could smell the damp leaves and composting vegetation of the jungle. There was a light, cool breeze blowing through under the trees. And he breathed in deeply, the fresh, clean air. Felt good to be alive. Then he started looking around at what was available to make a surfboard. And he knocked on this tree, and hardwood, knocked on that tree. Then he came across some bamboo, and he thought, now this is something we might be able to work with. And he cut down a couple of fairly long, mature pieces of bamboo. And he took out his tiny little pocket chisel, pocket hammer, and proceeded to split the bamboo into long, thin strips. Then he laid them out on the ground into a rough kind of surfboard shape, and then found some vine, and he wove them together into an approximation of a surfboard. using vine and bamboo strips. And then he knew he needed a bit more buoyancy in there. And there was a kind of a lightweight wood, sort of like a bit of balsa. He cut a few pieces of that out and he put them inside the centre of the board just to give it a bit more buoyancy. And then he thought he'd use some shells for fins. So he made 2 surfboards like that. Took him a couple of hours. But being bamboo was fairly easy to work with. When he looked at them, when he'd finished, he scratched his head and thought, they don't look that good. They're not very neat. Not even sure they'll float. But we'll give it a go. So he picked the boards up, one under each arm, and picked his way back out through the forest to the beach. And P was there fishing. And he yelled out, "Hey P, check this out, dude." And P turned around and went, "Wow, Bean, a couple of boards." He said, "Look, the tide's gone out and it's got pretty hollow over that reef. Should we paddle out and give them a go?" And Bean said, "Well, absolutely, P. That's what I've been working for in the forest all morning. I'm keen for a surf." So they peeled off their t-shirts. They were already wearing their boardies, kicked off their thongs. "Do we have any wax, Bean?" Bean turned around and looked at P. "Serious? Wax? We'll look for some bees tomorrow. This'll do for now." They got pretty good grip anyway because I didn't clean off all the little nodules of bamboo, so that'll give you something to grip on. Now we just need a couple of shells for fins. P said, "I know, I saw some before." And he led Bean back and they found these lovely, nice, round shells that were perfect for fins. Bean squeezed them in between the bamboo. And he looked at P and he said, "P, let's get amongst it, dude." And they high-fived and they jumped into the surf. To be continued.